Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. And today we are going to talk about connecting with your target audience. Many customers and clients that we work with come to us really straight from the go and say, we're really having a hard time getting a response from our clients, whether it's our social media post, whether it's our email marketing efforts, our direct mail efforts. We're just not getting a response. And so we hear that a lot. And I think that there is a there's a disconnect from many companies because, and we're all guilty of it, we spend more time telling them what we want to say to them than we do really understanding what's important to them. And I think that that's really the weakness is we get so caught up in all of the great features and the sale prices and the offerings that we forget that these people are humans, that they have situations in their life, they have ideals and beliefs, and they have situations that cause them to respond. And we've really lost empathy when it comes to our clients and what's important to them. Earlier today, I spent some time on the Florida State University campus and speaking with the director of the Innovation Hub there, Ken Baldoff. Thank you for your time, Ken, today. And he really impressed upon me the importance of design thinking when it comes to solving the problems that your customers and clients and society has. And design thinking, I think, has a kind of an ambiguous definition that I think people have a hard time wrapping their hands around. But I talk about it all the time. We've talked over and over about reverse engineering how your clients came to you, and reverse engineering what was the thing, what was the trigger that made them make the decision. And really that's what design thinking is all about. It starts with the human element and understand the human behavior. What are the stress points? What are the pain points? What are the emotions around them making a decision? Because a lot of times that's what actually we do. Before we make a decision, we have to get to a certain point. If my tooth starts to ache a little bit, I kind of ignore it, and then it gets a little bit worse and a little bit worse. Then the next thing I know, finally I've got to call the dentist. So again, that's sort of that process that I'm going through when I'm about to make that decision. So, really connecting with your customers on that emotional level, you can begin to understand what drives them to make a decision. So, and if you're really truly able to empathize with them, you'll be better informed to speak their language, and they'll be able to hear you better because your tone and your messaging will come from a point of you can truly understand how it makes them frustrated, or how your products or services really solve their problems. So let's talk about how can you better connect with your target audience. How can you create a culture of empathy and a systematic approach to making sure that you're always aware of where they are and how they're thinking about your products and services. So let's start with number one. Getting customer feedback is a very core, basic business strategy in terms of communication plans for your marketing efforts. But I think a lot of times what happens is companies, they put those surveys out and they get them back, and all they're trying to do is solve the problem or find out who's to blame for the situation. But they're not translating or digging deep enough to understand the motivator, or again, that what brought the client to that particular issue and brought all of that up, and then understanding that, and then using that for either modifying or shaping their future messages. And so, doing email surveys to your clients, and it's not a bad idea to offer incentives and say, hey, listen, we really value your feedback, and as a result, if you'll send this in, we'll love to give you 10% off your next service, or a free beverage with your meal, or whatever incentive you're able to put together. If you are a brick and mortar store and you have a lot of foot traffic, I think it's important to have a comment box, so that people can, while they're waiting, complete those boxes, and ask if they'd like to be followed, if they'd like a follow-up, and what method they'd prefer. And then third, I think having a culture of empathy internally in your company definitely helps to create a desire and an atmosphere to connect with the client and understand what's important to them. So creating that culture of empathy within your organization just creates an environment and an atmosphere where connecting with the human element as it relates to how people think and feel about the products or services that you offer is really important. And if you can do that with your employees, then they're going to reflect that same culture and attitude towards the clients that they work with. Number 4 would be to actually become a customer. So, I know a lot of companies do secret shopping, and they go into other businesses that are competitors, or they send staff to do secret shopping. But so many times they go in with the wrong attitude. They go in with the idea that they want to find out what the other people are doing wrong or what they're doing better. What they don't do when they're going through that secret shopper exercise is to connect with the actual customer experience and how it makes them feel, and what their emotions are, and what their mindset is, as if, rather than evaluating that competitor, imagine if the competitor was actually you, and then filter that through your lens as if you were actually the customer, and how would you think or feel or respond to, as if that was actually your company and that was one of your representatives speaking and interacting with you as the customer. So I think those are really 4 great ways, very simple ways for you to connect, and have a culture of empathy. So have customer feedback, send email surveys, offer incentives, have a comment box on site, create that culture of empathy within your organization, and understand what it's like to walk in your customer's shoes. Become a customer of your product, and do that from experience, so that you can truly understand and empathize how they think and feel about your products or services or your industry as a whole. Because here's the thing, guys, when we understand the human element of our clients, and we take that base, and then we kind of lay over the top and look across that, we can see the mesh points, right, of where those connections and emotions, where the mesh points are. And when we can do that, then we can really shape our messages and our marketing efforts to really be authentic and really connect with our clients in the best way possible. I mean, you can see brands, really successful brands, do that all the time. They spend the time to understand who their customer is, what's important to them, and they mold and they shape their products around it, and they adapt if they need to adapt based on that demand and based on the customer's needs and wants. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. It's been a great week. I enjoyed. If you didn't catch our series on how to build a great marketing plan, I hope you'll check out our blog or the podcast. Again, always a pleasure. My name is Michael Wynn. I'm the Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.